Hi guys, and welcome to beginner MySQL Database Connection in Python. Okay, let me show you guys how this works. And right here we've actually searched for the details of this person, that's Kemi. We can always just click on reset, and let's assume we want to search for someone else. So I'm going to go for 106433 and click on search. There we go, and that is Mary Allen. One other thing that we can do is when we click on reset, we can always add more data in there. Let's add as follows, and let's assume the name is Davis Johnny. Let's say at gmail.com. And type of member, let's assume is an annual member. All we then need to do is to add details of Davis. Click on that, and there we go. That's the details of Davis right there. Okay, one other thing that we can do is we can always click on this, and let's assume we want to change anything. Let's say we want to change the telephone number. There we go. So I've just changed the telephone number of Sammy. All you then need to do is to click on update. There we go. If you come in here, you should be able to see the telephone number of Sammy has changed. And all of these data, they are actually saved right inside our database. So let me show you the database. So let's open up the database, and there we go. That is it, called member. There. Those are the data that we have on the system. Alright, and I'll see you guys shortly with the full tutorial. Okay guys, let's start work with a new tutorial. So I'm going to click on exit and select yes. There we go. Now, the very first thing you guys have to do is you need to import some libraries. But for those of you, since this is a beginner's tutorial, if you don't have this particular application Python, you can always go straight into python.org, that is it right there, and just download the application. As the latest Python edition is 3.10.4. all you just need to do is click on download and follow the instructions. Alright, like I said, you do need the following libraries from Tkinter. Import. With this, you'll be able to create a graphical user interface. You'll be able to also create a graphical user interface using some other component or widget here. And here, graphical user interface dialog box. You will also need to import MySQL, and you will then need to import the random function. To start with, after your importation of the following libraries, we now need to let's create a class, and my class, I'm just going to call that member connect. The next thing you want to do is you will now want to define your initial function. If you notice, I said define def space underscore underscore, that's double underscore initial, and double underscore again. Since I'm going to be using more or less an object-oriented format, I'm going to call it self, which means it's going to be referring to every single components in there. So you say self comma root, and let's enter semicolon to close that very line. Now the next thing is say self dot root, and that is the name of your project. That will be equals root. There, and I'm going to now enter a blank. This very blank, I want you to create a space for me so that I can position my title dead center. So say blank equals, just enter empty quote in there. Now we now need self again. I'm going to come right down here. It says self dot root dot title, and that is going to be, let's say, the space in between, I'm going to make that 200 and 2, multiply that by the blank space here. Depend on your own screen resolution. There. So just play around with it till you get it right. So I'm now going to just enter my title in there. It's going to be known as MySQL Connect, or let's say Connector. There we go. Now the next thing is for me to set the geometry. Let's copy this and just set the geometry. Paste that right there. And the geometry in this case, that's got to do with the resolution of my program. So I'm going to say the geometry, that is going to be approximately, let's make it 1360 by, that's just x by 700 plus 0 plus 0. The plus 0 plus 0, that is the coordinate, which means the application will start, or the project will start from here and fill up my screen. That is good. Now, this is very important. I'm now going to create variables. So I'm going to call the very first one member ID. And my member ID is going to be a string variable. The next one is going to be first name. Let's copy that and I can speed it up. First name. There. And followed by surname. Then we have address. And I'm going to call the next one PO Box. Yep, PO Box. Let's post box. And let's go for gender. After gender, M type. M type, that would be members type. So this is going to be a member recording system. And that we also have a database. So I'm going to show you how to put together a database, provided you have actually download and install MySQL Database Workbench. So that is going to be email now. And yeah, I'm going to need one for my search function as well. And finally, the members. Let me enter a barcode. I will also show you guys how to create a barcode, and I will include the URL where you can download and install the barcode. So those are the variables that I intend to use. Okay, I'm going to now round up the whole process here. Then we try out the program to make sure it's working as we want. So what I'll do right here, I'm going to use an if. That's a space underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals single quotes underscore underscore main and underscore single quote and a column. So to know more about this, you can always go to the site I showed to you guys and just read up on that. Now I'm going to say root, that will be equals tk, and application equals member connection. Right, member connect. Alright, so finally I'm now going to say root dot main. I would like you to loop. That is it. So I'm going to save this. Let's save it and see how it's going to work. So let's go to File, Save As. I'm going to kind of like save it right here. So that is member connector. Save that. Okay, let's try this out. Since we've saved it, I'm going to come right here and just click on run. There we go. It's working as we want. That is good. So I've just created just a blank interface, and as you can see, my title is dead center. Look at it, dead center. So let's close that and close this as well. Now guys, the next thing I want to do is I want to kind of like create frames. See that we divide my framework into different sections. So I'm going to start by coming right underneath here. Let me just enter hash, then broken lines. Okay, that is my variable. Okay, right underneath here, I'm going to enter the following. Let's say main frame. So main frame will be the frame for the whole framework itself. So main frame uses the widget that is called frame, and this widget called frame is going to be a child of root. The root is the main program itself, and I'm going to enter a border, make it about 10. The width of this border, I'm going to make it about 1350, while I will make the height, let's say 700 for that. We're going to say relief, that will be rigid. Enter, comma. Then BG stands for background color. I'm going to make that cadet blue. Now, this cadet blue will be covered by other frames anyway. There we go. Now, this very frame, I'm going to now round it up and just call it grilled. There. Dot. Grilled. Enter semicolon. So let's run. We have to save that though and see how that looks like. Look at that. And you can see the frame around it. Okay? That is good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this. Come right down here. Paste. And the next one, I'm just going to call that title. Yeah. Let's enter title there. I always say titles. Title frames. And paste it right here. In the case of title frame itself, that is going to be a child of the main frame. So grab hold of the main frame and just paste it right in here. And the border, I'm going to reduce that to about 7. The width, let's go for 1320. The height, in this case, since it's just for title, I'm going to make that about 100. And it's going to be relief and rigid as well. But I'm going to get rid of this. I just want it to be plain. And right in here, I'm going to enter, let's say row, that will be equal 0. Then column, we make that 0 as well. Okay, just like an array, it starts with 0, 1, 2, and so on. And that's it. So I'm going to run this and let's see how that's going to look like. There, that is it right there. Okay, don't worry about the mainframe wrapping itself around it. That's no big deal. The next thing I want to do now is I'm going to copy this again. I want to add another framework. This other framework, I'm just going to call that search. That is where we have my search widget. So let's get rid of this S. Copy that and paste that right here. So the search, that would be, we can call that one frame 1. Let's give that 1 or 2. I might need another one, so let's put that there for 1. I can always change it. And right here I'm going to change this to about 5, change the border to about 5, and I'm going to now add a bit of padding. So let's say pad, that's going to be to the x-axis. I'm going to make that 5, comma, and the width is also, I'm going to leave the width as it is and make the height about 50. Okay, relief is rigid as well. There. And let's see. Okay, we just see how that is going to work for now. Now I'm going to run it, and let's take it from there. Run. That is the second frame. That's good. So the next one, I'm going to call this one the middle frame. Okay, so let's just copy this, come right down here, paste that there, and this is going to be my mid frame, and enter mid frame here as well. I'm going to make that 500, the height will be 500, and leave this how it is, and this is going to be row 2. Okay, what about the padding? Yeah, that is fine. I'm going to get rid of this for now. I might need it later on. Okay, the height, the width, that's fine. Let's just change this. I'm going to change that to 1340, and make this one 1340, and this one as well. Okay, I'm going to save it now and run, and let's see that that is my mid frame. So inside my mid frame now, I'm now going to enter add more frames. With 1340, you see the size of the frame now. It's now kind of like fill up the whole area. So close that. Very good. So now you guys know how to create your own frames. Now the other frame that I'm going to create will just be for members details, the tree view, and buttons. So let's grab hold of, in fact I'm going to copy all of this. Let's paste it right down here. Now this very first one, I'm going to change that to members details. Okay, let's say member details frame. I'll copy this for the next one, paste that here. Okay, member details frame is going to be a child of mid frame, because mid frame is the largest among all the frames that I've created so far, and this one's still going to be mid frame as well. This one will be mid frame too. Now for these member details, change this to about 5, the border, the width. Okay, the width is fine. The height, let's make that about 180, and okay, I'm going to kind of like pad it to the x-axis. Let's go for maybe about 6. And relief, that's rigid. In this case, that's going to be, it's in location row 0, column 0. Very good. So the next one is going to be the tree view. Okay, tree view frame. So let's come right down here, just enter tree view. Okay, so the tree view, that's more or less like something like list box. Alright, so the tree view is going to be inside this as well with the same, okay, with the same padding. That's fine. What about the height? Let's make it about 400. And it's relief. That is fine. Now finally, this is going to be for the button. Okay, and this will be button as well. There we go. Now I'm going to do something different with the button. I'm going to change this to about 50, and I will also add a border to it. Yeah, add a back color to it. I'm just going to copy all of this just to give it a bit of contrast. So that is the color, the height. Let's make this about 7, and it's going to be in column 2, no, row 2, column 0. Alright, so let's save all of that and run. Let's see, there we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's do one more thing. I just want to tidy up this framework. Alright, let's come down here. See where I have the member details. I'm going to add, let's pad it to the right, to the Y axis, I mean, and change this to Y. There should be a comma here. Get rid of this double comma, and I'm just going to make this about 4 just to give a bit of room. Alright, that's fine. And what about the tree view? We're going to get that padded as well. Right there, just make that about 2. Okay, looking good so far. Come up here, run that, and let's see. Oh, I have one here already, so get rid of that, or get rid of this one. Okay, yeah, just want it to be 2, not 5. Alright, that's good. Okay, let's add title, labels, and so on. So let's just add more here. I'm going to just copy this. Okay, that's the framework. Now underneath here, that's where I'm going to add my title. So let's come right down here. With the title, I'm going to just say self dot LDL. That's a title, and that is going to be equals label, and this label is going to be a child of this frame that is called title frames. Paste that in there, comma. Then I'm going to add a font to it. So I'm going to say the font is going to be an Arial. There, comma, and it's going to be, let's say, about 40, comma. Then we add a make it bold and close that up. And what about the text? So the text that I want in there is just going to be, let's say, MySQL connection, just like I have in here. Okay, this is connected, so I can say MySQL connection. So let's say equals MySQL connection. Right. So what else? Let's add a border to it. So BG, I'm going to make that equal 7. And just close that. Okay, looking good so far. Let's move this in so that you guys can see it. Alright, now the next thing, I'll do that. The next thing I want to do now is I need to run this up. Okay, you come right down here and paste that in there. And I'm going to just say dot grade. That is going to be in row 0, column 0. Grab hold of that and just paste it right here. There we go. I'm going to run it. Save first. There we go, guys. That is it. And as you can see, there seems to be some changes to the framework there, so that's no problem. Let's come right down here. You see right here where we have the rows and the column. I'm going to say comma, and let's get it padded to the left, to the x-axis. I'm going to make that about 422. Come right here, save, run. There we go, guys. Look at that. Okay, now that is taken care of. Okay, I'm now going to just copy this and create more widget. Since the title is taken care of, paste that in there. And the next one, let's call that member ID. There. And this is going to be member ID as well underneath here to round it up. There we go. In the case of this member ID is going to be a child of member details frame. Paste that right in here. But we're going to have to reduce the size of the font. Okay, make that about, that's about 12 there. So that's fine. Now, in here, I'm going to change that to member ID. That is the output of the label. Now, the next thing we want to do here is I actually need to get it anchored. Let's anchor it to the west. Yep. Let's come down here and just say, I'm going to add a comma here first, comma, and come right here, and let's just say anchor. That would be equals single quotes west. And I'm also going to kind of like justify it to this, justify that to be left. There we go. Now let's get it round up. Yeah, and here I need to get rid of that, and I'm going to then, let me just say strictly to the west, and a bit of padding there. Let's see how this is going to look like. I'm going to run it. Run. If I get this right, I can always copy the rest. That is it. That's fine. Now let's add a text box for it. Grab hold of all of this. Grab hold of the label. Come right down here. Paste right underneath here. And I'm just going to change the LBL to TXT, which stands for text box. And the same thing here. Oh, undo that. That's the wrong one. This will be the text box that goes in there. TXT and TXT right here. There we go. And they are both in the same frame. Okay, so it's going to be 12 as well, but the text that would not be there. Get rid of that. Now, align is going to be to the left. So let's move those ones in here and get rid of the anchor. Justify left. And it's going to be on column 1. The label is on column 0. Right beside it is the text box. And change this. This should be entry. There we go. I think that is all. But there's one thing that I should do now, is to actually grab hold of the member ID. Grab hold of that. That is going to be my text variable. So come right down here, comma, press enter, and I'll just enter a text variable that is equals member ID. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. So let's see. I'm going to save it now. And let's run. There we go. Look at it right beside the member ID. Close that. That is good. But if you guys look at it, let me show it to you again. The width is kind of like, the width is not wide enough, so I'm going to come right down here. Let's make this about 5 because that looks a bit too deep, and in here I'm just going to enter, let's say width, that would be about 36. Right, yeah, 36 should do. Okay, let's try that out again. Run. There should be a comma here. Okay, run. Let's see. Very good. Okay, that looks much better. I will now copy this now. Now, since I have more or less like my blueprint, so just copy and paste. The next one, this is going to be for first name. So all I just need to do in there is change this to first name. And this. All of these become first name. This first name as well. And this first name. Now, what about the rows? If you look at the rows, this is 0. So I'm going to change this row to 1. And this row will be changed to 1 as well. And what about this variable? The variable first name. I'm going to grab hold of that. Come right down here and just paste the variable first name right there. There we go. Alright. Looking good. So let's save and run. There we go. Look at that. Now we need to change this to first name. So let's go back to the label. Right here, that's the label. Change that to first name. Now save and run one more time. There. Now let's do one for surname. Then I can speed this up. You guys now understand the whole process. Now bring this down, paste, and get it indented. That is very important. Change this to surname. I'll repeat the same thing for the others. Surname, surname as well, surname, and the label should be surname as well. There. Now the text variable is surname too. This is row 1, so this one will be row number 2, column 0, row number 2, column 1. Okay, so let's save and run. There we go. Look at that. So I guess you guys get the whole idea. But for now, I'm just gonna call it the end of the first part of this tutorial, and I'll see you guys shortly.